toes and be ready to throw in your own part if need be. Then, I'll still show you examples of those dances. I just felt it's better to finish the talking and then do some other thing. Now, in the West African region, you have basically two different dance typologies. You have the choreographed dance, which you will find in every community more or less, and then you have the free medley dance, which is the dance where the music is playing and everybody's allowed to come and express himself the way he wants. And the choreographed dance groups would usually be people that belong to either a particular organization or belong to a particular sect or belong to a particular age group or age grade. And what they will do is, because there is that expectation that periodically you have to showcase something creative, in the cultural domain. So what they will do, they will come together, either they move out and get somebody to come and teach them a dance, or they create their own dance within themselves, and in such occasions, the dance would have a specific music type that has been composed for it. So it's not a matter of let's just play music and let's dance. And people would normally respect the fact that these are the people who own this dance and let them do their dance and enjoy themselves doing it. And in any dance, especially for choreographed dance ensembles, you would have an instrument that plays the role of a rhythm of dance instrument. And what it does is basically to marshal the dance movements. So any dance orchestra has that particular component, which you might not necessarily find in a purely instrumental ensemble. It has to be there to say, okay, this is what you're going to do. So at each stage, it tells you this is what you're going to do. And the person that plays that instrument, this is where we're going to have another fight in terminology. Strictly in the Igbo communities, music is a woman. The person who leads an ensemble, the person who directs the ensemble, the person who is in charge, is not referred to as a master musician. The person is usually referred to as a mother musician. But because of the owners of the language, when they started writing about African music, they immediately felt that, okay, yeah, he must be a master musician, master drummer. It is not, if you talk with the people that own the music, if you discuss with them about the music they play, they don't see music as a man. So the person who is in charge to direct what happens in the ensemble is usually called a mother musician. So in a choreographed dance setting, the mother musician is the one who plays the rhythm of dance, because he is the one who is coordinating what happens within the ensemble. Whereas in the free medley dance scenario, the music is just played.
It's not
it
falling.
Doesn't have in our region.
Yeah, we
It
don't
doesn't have in area, Colombia neither.
Yeah, so in the free medley dance situations, the music is playing. Everybody is allowed to come in and interpret it the way you want. So there is no laid down rule as to how the dance has to go and which leg you have to move first and what is going up and what is coming down. And then of course you have your solo dancers, although it is very rare, because they will tell you that if you just move out there and start dancing, people will actually believe that you're mad, because they would say that maybe the spirits are playing the music that you're dancing to. And lest I forget, there's something that occurred to me this morning. Okay, let me know when I was taking a shower. Something occurred to me this morning. There's this guy I work with, and he's a very good drummer. I mean, very, very good. But I have a problem with how good he is. The reason being that he could play, he's playing the drum, he's shaking the shaker here, he's hitting hitting the bell there, and he's doing a million things at the same time. You know, I mean, he can do it all alone, so to speak. You know, I've been thinking, maybe I should tell him, maybe I should not. Because if you're getting involved in African music, it is communion, it's community. That is the reason why it is structured the way it is. If I can play on this instrument, of course I can do this all alone, but if I have to play it when it is not just me, that is why you have people. That is why we have to have that communion. This rhythm structure I've played, I will share it within us. And it is something that people are not trying to understand. I mean, you won't go to any indigenous culture in Africa and see one person playing 50 things and trying to do everything on his own. Except it's a special act, which is not, okay, you just want to do this special thing. But music making is communion. It's community. It is everybody involved. And like I tell them at the Sonas class, we have what we call melodic range in singing. So if you come to this community, there is a voice range that everybody in the community is expected to be able to, you know, fit in comfortably without straining the voice or hurting yourself. And because every music making is a community thing, everybody is expected to be able to get into it. You know, I don't know why it just popped into my head, but the ideas of trying to, well, except it's something else that's not African music, but if you say you are doing African music and you want to do it all alone, then you have totally lost it, because it is about sharing. It's about sharing those, I mean, that's why sometimes it is in the process of music making that learning happens. Not just learning about playing the instrument, but learning about life, learning about how to conduct yourself, learning about how you interact with other human beings and all that. You know, so it's, for me, something that I find a bit disturbing, especially when, well, like I said, maybe it's not African music, so I shouldn't get myself too worked up. And then, of course, we have the kind of music that people, that is played for people to get into trance. And at that point, when they transcend into that other realm, they would usually get some information from the powers that are up there for the people who are living on Earth. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about popular music styles, like we have them in the West African coast. One of the first instruments that was indigenized is the guitar, because the Portuguese traders who came to the West African coast to do trade would usually have somebody that played the banjo or some type of guitar, and people immediately took to it because they had similar instruments, but they really liked it and started using it. First of all, okay, trying to play it the way the people played it, and then started playing it the way they wanted to play it, and actually made the indigenized the instrument to make it theirs. Now, the first type of music that was played by the guitar, or with the guitar, is what you call palm wine music. That's in the West African coast. And palm wine music is very, subtle music that the guy is singing and playing, and people sit around and drink their palm wine. Palm wine, we should be talking about alcohol in the class. It's still early.
This is Ireland.
Okay, this is Ireland, okay. But palm wine is one of the sweetest natural things you find out there. It's from the palm tree, and it's what they do, they make an incision on the stem, and then plug in this bamboo shaft that lets the thing drip. So it's white like milk, and it is sweet like sugar. But once it comes down from the tree, it ferments very easily because it has a very high yeast content. So if you get it in the morning, by evening, it starts becoming very strong. If it stays till the next day, you don't want to drink it. You really don't want to, because it gets very sour, and, excuse the French, it kicks ass. Now, you have juju music, which is music that is, high life. From the palm wine music, he started metamorphosizing into metamorphosizing into highlife music, and some of the components or exponents of highlife music has been Chief Osito Sadebe, Victor Wife, Oliver the Cook. And highlife music is music that is made with, of course, Western instruments, the guitar, the drum, the horns, you know. But then the style in which they play, the way they employ the instruments, the kind of riffs the bass guitar plays is distinct, and it is what makes it stand out as a particular music type. Now you have the Juju music, which is found mostly around the Yoruba-speaking areas. It's also a mix between Western instruments and a bit of the dundun drums and the shekere and other instruments. Makosa or Kwasa is found, unfortunately, well, Awilo is from Congo, but he's the person that could find his video clip, so that's right. But it's still the same kind of music, and it is music that the dance concentrates very much around the hip region. I've talked about Panwine music. Now, Ebili music is indigenous popular music from the southeastern part of Nigeria, and Ebili is an instrument like this. You know, it's an idiophone, and they just sing it. When it fell up with their singing, you know, that kind of thing with slide instruments. Then it started developing further. People started putting in guitars and horns, and now it is something totally different. Then you have Afro Juju, which was more or less propagated by Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who is still one of the most prolific musicians we've had that come out of Nigeria. Incidentally, Fela, he comes from a very wealthy aristocratic family. His mother sent him to the UK to study medicine, and he came back with a degree in music. And since then, he has been, or he was, a thorn in the flesh of the Nigerian corrupt government, because he's a social critic, and he did it so strongly through song. I mean, he got leaders in Nigeria shaking whenever they say that Fela has a new song coming out. Everybody will be like, oh my God, what is it going to be? And he spent a large part of his life in jail. I mean, he had some, well, not so very wonderful life style. But then musicians are musicians, and sometimes you don't blame them for what they do, because you don't know what the spirit tells them to do at what point. But he, I think, rose to the level for the Nigerians, the same level where you place Bob Marley. He got there, and till today, his songs, I mean, what he saw and talked about and preached against, we are still seeing till today. So it is, I mean, he is somebody who has etched himself in the minds of Nigerians. So he started the Afro Juju, and it's a style that has now grown, and a lot of people are getting into it. And then gospel. In Nigeria, we are very religious. Considering the level of horrible things that happen there, but I don't think there is any country in the world that has as many churches as we have in Nigeria. Actually, on every street in Lagos, you're likely to find 2 or 3 churches. Okay, maybe in the United States, they are coming close, but Christianity, or church-going, let me not use Christianity, church-going is such a strong part of the culture that even if you are an armed robber, you go to church and pay your tithes and tell God, please, when I go out today, I want to be successful. So the leaders, the criminals, everybody. So it made gospel music very lucrative. There are a large number of musicians who play different types of secular music, And when the people are no longer buying their music, they switch to gospel and start selling again. And then, of course, you have the Udimodu music types. These are people who sing in traditional dialect and sometimes they use Western instruments or a combination of Western and African or indigenous instruments, and they are usually found in the southeastern part of Nigeria. Good. It's time to listen to music. I hope this works. There's Wi-Fi here, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So the first category of examples I have are something that tends towards some sort of sacred music. Yes, sir.
Can I ask some questions before we go into the...
See, I'm not a good teacher. Please, are there any questions?
Okay, going back to when you were breaking down the relationship of the instrumentation and the specific regions of Nigeria. You said certain instruments like the aerophones are more associated with the north, even though they might be played in other regions, but they generally would come from the north because of the I guess the land and the dryness of the lands. Can you break down more so about which instruments would come from the west and which ones would come from the south? And
okay. Most of the regions would have idiophones like the God shaker. You know, that would cut across pretty much all through the regions. Then the instruments like the marimba or the xylophones or gele, as it's called in Southeast, would be more predominantly located in the rainforest region because of the large rainforest trees in that area.
which is the south, right?
Yeah, the south. Yeah, the rainforest would be this rainforest belt, you know, somewhere, because anything from here is pretty much desert. Actually, I've traveled from somewhere up there to somewhere there, and I had to travel for like 10 hours in desert region, you know, so it's very deserty up there. So any instruments that would require a lot of skin or wood would come from the rainforest belt. In the north, they do have drums too, like I said, but it is not something that is as common as it is found when you come lower south. And well, they have lots of cows there, so they hide to make those drums are not lacking. But the kind of drums you find in the north usually would be big drums like this, which they use for most of their ensembles. While down south, you now have drums that are made with smaller types of animals, because the different animals have different qualities, the skin of different animals. And I see here that the human skin is the best, but let's not go there.
Really? Or it's a joke?
Really?
We can make a business. No, I'm joking.
But I don't know if white people's skin will be that good. Let's leave the black people.
So where would the quarterphones be associated with?
The quarterphones also, you have a lot, it's predominantly found in the northern region, you know. And of course, you have, like I said, the bakwara, the musical bow. We have types of it in my culture, which is right down here. The coastal region of Nigeria, but mostly you find a lot of the quarterphone instruments further up north, and then scattered around cultures moving down south or southwest. Then
the clay drum. What's the name of the clay drum again?
Udu.
The udu. Okay. And you said the dundun is
Yoruba.
considered to be a prayer drum?
Yeah, it's now the worship of Shango and Orisha, Obatalam, would usually involve the use of.
Because I've heard them referred to as the batas.
Yeah, there's
well.
the bata
Yeah.
and there's the dundum set. Okay, I think there was a picture I had that had people carrying the different types of, that's the dundum and the bata set. So that would be associated with, well, the dundum would be more associated with minstrels, you know, like at the King's Court, people that I say that would announce the arrival of visitors. And right now, actually, I mean, in the present day Nigeria, if you go for big occasions, you have people who come with their dundum drums, you know, they set, and they just move around and sing. They'll ask the next person, once you look like you're wealthy, you're sitting there with expensive looking jewelry, they'll ask somebody, what's his name? And they say, his name is O'dyke. And they'll come, oh, O'dyke. So you're like, okay, take some money. And so it's a culture that has now spread from the Yoruba region, of course, a little bit of Benin Republic and Togo, and has now come down to the south for those of them who want to make some extra buck.
So I know that within Yoruba culture that's in the Western Hemisphere, there is a large Christian influence in the practice of how they present Yoruba and how they worship through Kandumble. But in Nigeria specifically, is there a blend or a mix of the more modernized religions like Islam and Christianity that have now been a part of that particular region for some time now? Is there a mix or a blend of these indigenous practices with the more contemporary religions within the culture? And if so, like, how does that affect the music and the dancing that's being produced now?
Like I said, the Yoruba culture is still very strong, and they have been able to maintain, you know, the sacredness of their religious worship and culture. So
in Africa. Yeah.
I mean, well, in the Yoruba area. So you wouldn't actually find so much of that interference between Christianity or Islam and the practice of what they do. You know, most cases, I mean, the Christians will not want you to bring anything that is not Christian into their space. But I'll talk a little bit more on that. While those of them practicing the traditional religion would want to keep it the way it is, because everything is represented within their religious circle. Now, in terms of where you might find a little bit of blending would actually be more southeast. You know, where those who practice traditional religion might tend to take one or two things from the Christian religion, or vice versa. Actually, it is the other way around, because the Christian religion has taken so much from the indigenous religions to bring into their circle so that people will be comfortable to come to church. You know, it's like, just a quick example, the Spirit Manifest that I was talking about. We have some very sacred spirits, and we have some more secular ones, you know, that can do things. But what the church has done is they discovered that during the festive period, you really have these Spirit Manifest displays. And so the Christmas period, the 25th evening through the 26th, you have different masked spirit type displaying around communities. And when that happens, there's nothing that happens in church that anybody wants to go to anymore. So what they have done is to bring the masking tradition into the church. And they have been able to, thank God for holy water, consecrate the mask and pray heavily over it, and now say it has now been presented to God. And so they are the ones who are adapting to the religious and social beliefs of the people within the community. And likewise in the Yoruba area too, they are pulling that in. But there is a religious sect which we call the white garment churches back home. That would be your Ladura, your cherubim and seraphim, and they are. It is actually a kind of mix between traditional religion and worship of the water goddess and things like that. So those people, I've only been to one of such a church in South Africa, and they sing Christian-like songs, but then also practice some other religious things that would not be termed purely Christian, but it's like a mix between, and it's found within the Yoruba community. So it's a mix between Christianity and they sing songs like you see, but then their dancing is also heavily influenced. I mean, they do a lot of trance things, but their dancing is heavily influenced by that culture, and you see them moving their heads and getting into.
They're known as the white what?
White garment. Well, that's
white
just,
garment.
Yeah, white garment. That's just the terminology we.
I think you said that the gospel music is so popular that when other artists in other popular genres, when their records stop selling, they make a change to gospel music. Is there much other crossover within popular music, or also is there any sort of interaction between, say, musicians in a different type, like sacred music, that make a shift to popular music, or they pretty much stay?
Yes, when people no longer sell, they shift to gospel music. Because once you say, oh God, we love you, you have market for it. Now, but there was a rare case of a woman who used to sing gospel music, and things were not going very well for her. And she now did a drastic switch from the gospel music to something that is worse than secular music, because there is so much obscenity in her singing, and but the funny thing is that she sings it, she still uses the same, gospel tracks. She starts off
melodies.
You hear the song, and because somebody was telling me that he was in a local transport one day, and suddenly the taxi driver started playing this music, and it started off, with the kind of mood from gospel music, and started singing, and people actually started singing along in the bus, until suddenly the music stopped abruptly and changed, and she started, she's quite graphic, and not even your hip-hop artists come close to the kind of thing and she says it with, and she told people that, when she was doing gospel, that she wasn't making money. But now that she's doing this, everybody, but the truth is that nobody will want to associate themselves with her. But secretly, they still buy that. Yeah, because she's selling very, very well. So, and then in terms of crossing from one genre to another, you have people who play, a lot of them have played very indigenous-based music, and when they feel that the market for that is no longer there, they now move to something more Western, and which will be more secular, more widely accepted, because most of the time these indigenous things will be people from your community who understand, especially if it is language-based. So sometimes they move over to something that is a little bit more widespread.
Can you break down a little bit the differences between the spiritual music and the sacred music? spiritual music and sacred music.
Okay, in the categorization, the spiritual music is music that we use for religious worship. Okay, while the sacred music will be, because like I said, there are so many different sects and cults that exist within the country. In fact, if you go to the western region, you have a big one that's called the Ogboni. Well, they call themselves Reformed now, you know. But the Ogboni would have, I mean, they are trying to be a bit more visible now. But the music that they use for their worship or for whatever it is they do is music that we are not privileged to hear or to gain access to. You know, so it is. Well, they are not. It's not like a religion, so to speak.
So when you say religion, you're speaking more about modern religions, like.
But even the Shango thing, you know, that's also.
It's considered spiritual music.
Spiritual music for the people that engage in it.
Why? Because it's more out there. It's not as closed off. It's not as.
Yeah, one, it is. You can actually witness a service or a process happening. You're not stopped from doing that. It's actually open. It's free. You can get involved in it. Whereas the other one is, if you are not a member of that sect or that thing, you have no business hearing or listening to what they do. Whereas, like I said, this one would do more like with the traditional worship. Because even in the southeast, we still have people who still worship Amadioha. That is a lot of tongue, like you have it in like the Shango in the west. You know, we still have people who engage in that, and they would have their processions. You know, there are those who worship the water goddess, Mamed. They call it Mame Water. You know, it's called Owumiri.
Oshun, isn't Oshun the water goddess in Yoruba?
Yoruba, Oshun.
Oh. No?
I know what it is, but I have to think about it.
Okay.
You know, so the belief in, there is a strong following, especially in most of these cultures that are by the riverine area. So their music is spiritual music. I mean, they will do their processions in their white gowns, usually mostly women, and they have a very strong following. And the music that goes with it is kind of worship music for them, because it's music they used to worship whatever deity or whatever they want to believe in. Yes? You were saying something? You sure?
Sure, completely.
So say something, why not?
I don't know.
Oops. Okay, so, well, I slept at what time? 4 a.m. I'm trying to find what was appropriate. So, well, we'll discuss these things as we go along.
What did you say?
When are we finishing? This is a pattern. Use your eyes. Look that, because this man apparently just went into a trance.
Yeah.
Well,
Which category are we just in?
it's religious because it's the worship of Bata.
It's religious, not sacred music?
Yeah, I put it under that
category?
But it's
more religious?
Bata, yeah, it's religious music. You can see, even with what is happening around, they are still doing their thing without. This is very religious. religious, kind of worship music type. This is not it. Okay, this is I just put it there because it's something contemporary, but then he tried to capture the ambience of like a ritual festive environment when the god of thunder is being called upon. So it's more audio.
Yeah. So you would put that in the category of religious music as well?
I just because there is this guy I worked with, and there was this ritual song, which I can't fully remember what the meaning is, but it goes like, "Oh, Ju Odeda, oh, oh, Ju Odeda, oh, Kere Gori Rokolo, oh, Ju Odeda, oh." Then when the Ifa priest is now making the pronouncements, in the background they will keep that melody. So it was something that, because I didn't know how to find that